The next game on our list, it's the Miami Dolphins heading to Chicago to take on the Bears, the 5-3 Dolphins, the 3-5 Bears. Miami is 4.5-point favorites in this game with an over-under of 45.5. Oh boy, spoiler alert. With an over-under of 45.5 points. This, I don't know, this seems weird to me, Aaron. You're the odds guy. You're the betting fit. You're the betting guy. With all the games that we have where it's like a team that's like so like on paper, I don't think it's that close between the Dolphins and the Bears. And maybe that's just disrespectful. But we see the odds makers disrespect teams all the time. All the time.
You got to stop doing that. Like, this is the NFL, man. It's the NFL. They're on the road in Chicago, not an easy place to play. Like, this is their strength is the Bears' strength, and their pass offense is the Bears' pass defense. I'm not saying that it's going to be close. What I'm saying is that when we look at odds, everything is factored in. Everything. There is no better people at making odds than the odds makers. Like, they do this, and the reason Vegas is undefeated, man, it's the reason they make money. They know what they're doing. It's easy to look at a team and say, "Oh, Miami's better than Chicago." Sure, of course, but we say that every week. There's always a better team playing a worse team, and sometimes the worst teams win. Sometimes the worst team is just in a better situation. The game plan is better. They're playing at home. The elements are better. I have no problem with the line. The NFL is a one-score game. Every line in the NFL usually sits somewhere between 1 point and 8 points, and the rest, the double-digit lines that you get, are the teams that we feel, like the odds makers feel, are usually Super Bowl caliber teams, are the teams that they feel can get to the Super Bowl. So on the road, I have no problem with this line. I think the Dolphins should be favored. I think they're about a 7-point favorite over the Chicago Bears. You add in, 2 or 3 points, depending on home field advantage and all these elements and factors, you get about 4.5 to 5 points. And I have no problem with the line. I think the line is set where the line should be set.
All right, that's fair.
Games are close, man. They're not blowouts.
This is why I go to you for these things. This is why I go to you for these things with the odds and trying to learn more about this type of these types of things. AJ, this is the first game we will see Bradley Chubb with the Miami Dolphins. What do you think his impact is in game one? Obviously, with to preface this and before I even let you go, I feel like with offensive players, when they get traded, it takes a little bit for them to get used to things. Is the same thing for defense? That's what I'll also throw in there.
I mean, to an extent, you think about putting in a secondary player, guy in the back end, and say, hey, you need to adhere to this scheme. And, on certain plays, it's going to be the same for a pass rusher. But mostly when you get a guy like Bradley Chubb, that talented, that high of a football IQ, you get him to say, hey, this is what your job is today. Go get the quarterback. And of the people in the NFL, Bradley Chubb is one of the best at doing it. He's tied for 9th with 5.5 sacks. He has the most sacks on this Miami Dolphins team already as he comes in right above Jalen Phillips, who's at 3.5 sacks. And putting those two together on either side, I really like what this is going to play out for these guys. We talk about Justin Fields and the fact that they aren't able to really protect him. We talk about how Justin Fields used to run a lot on instinct, not on scheme. And while they've gotten better at that, now that you have guys who can get pressure after him, I think you're going to see a lot more of the running out of fear from Justin Fields than they do out of scheme. I love the fact that Bradley Chubb is coming in. They know what the type of guy they got by extending him before he even got on the field. He's ready to play for Miami. They're ready to have him play for Miami. I think his impact is going to be pretty immense.
Okay. And I've asked you this question many times this week, talking about the Bears, Justin Fields, and the improvement we've seen from this team. They've obviously moved up a little bit in your power rankings over the past 2 weeks, going from 32 to, I believe, 28 over the past 2 weeks. We've talked about what we've seen differently from this team. How do they pull off the upset here?
I think they got to continue with what they've been doing the past couple of weeks. We saw them beat New England using the running game and getting Justin Fields and moving the pocket for him to allow him more time and use his skill set to his advantage. And I think you do the same thing. We saw it again in Dallas, and they had success with Dallas scoring almost 30 points. Defense just couldn't stop the Cowboys. And then you have to do the same thing here. I think the matchup is a little bit better here for Chicago than Dallas last week. Again, they're at home. The crowd's going to be behind them, and I think they're progressing the right way. I do think they're going to have a tough matchup trying to guard these two receivers because they're different type of receivers. But if Justin Fields cannot turn the football over and they can control some of that clock and run the football, I think they can have some success, and you can find this game being closer than what you expected. At the end of the day, again, Miami's a really good team, and Miami might be a Super Bowl contender. They might be up there with the Bills and the Chiefs. I think we still need to see a little bit more. They just had a 16-10 game with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So that's a team that you feel like is not very good and they should be blown out, but they only lost by 6 points. So I think this is that kind of game here. With Chicago, if their defense can show up and Justin Fields doesn't turn the football over, I expect Justin Fields to continue to play well. I think he's been progressing. I can tell you right now, I have the Dolphins winning this game, but I have it by a touchdown, 24-17. I think that's about what I think the Dolphins are better than the Bears on the road in tougher elements are. And I think the difference is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and their ability to make plays after catching the football. And then Justin Fields is just not going to be able to do enough and not get enough help to pull this one out.
What do you expect from Chase Claypool in this game, real quick? Just very, very quickly.
I honestly AJ talked about like Bradley Chubb. I expect both of those guys, Bradley Chubb and Chase Claypool, to play limited number of snaps. You don't come into a week one and know the scheme. You just don't. It's not a thing really in the NFL. I do expect them to play some. Claypool might have to play more than they want him to because they don't really have anybody, but probably put him in on some vertical routes and you say, hey, go run this, go run that. You don't have to know the plays or know what's going on. Don't give him any option choice routes or, being able to read it. Just go run a 9, go run a deep dig. So I could see him playing, 40, 50, 60% of the snaps until he gets comfortable, and then he'll get it back up to that 80% where he'll be for the season. But they're going to need him. He's a big play guy, and they need some big play guys right now alongside Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I like that thought process with Chase Claypool. Get out there, run the number tree, and we'll do the rest. We've talked a lot about the secondary of the Bears, and while I do think they're good, I have a big feeling that just the loss of Robert Quinn and now Roquan Smith, I think that defense may find themselves having a harder go at it. And like we say, it's the NFL. Everyone gets one. There's at least 1 week where you just aren't who we're used to seeing you be. And I think this happens this week against this high-powered offense. I have the Dolphins 31-20. I think Tua and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert and 30% of Jeff Wilson and Mike Gesicki is just going to be too much for the Bears this week. And they're going to have to find themselves on that defensive side of the ball and get back at it next week. Give me the Dolphins 31-20.
I will make this a clean sweep, 3 for 3. I'll take the Dolphins 27-19 in this one. I think it's going to be. I actually expect not a big game from Bradley Chubb. I think Bradley Chubb is going to be very effective in this game. I know we talked about how it takes some time to get used to some things, but I think Bradley Chubb is that type of player who's going to come in and impact this team from day one and be a force. And we obviously know the greatness that is the Miami Dolphins offense with the weapons that they have in Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua Tagovailoa. This would make the Dolphins 6-0 with Tua this year starting and playing a full game. That's his way. Like it again, we don't talk about enough, and we'll probably talk about on Monday if they win this game, talking about Tua just continuing to win football games. Clean sweep, Dolphins over the Chicago Bears.